and welcome to this special edition of Eye on St. Lucie. Today we have School Board Chair Miss Debbie Hawley, who represents District 1, joining us. Hello and welcome.
Hi Lydia, it's great to be here with you today.
So glad that you're here. Let's start by just having you introduce yourself to the viewers.
Okay, that's probably the toughest question you will ask me today because it's difficult to talk about myself, but as most of you know, I'm a fourth generation resident of St. Lucie County, so this is home to me. And I have been on the school board, thankfully, since 2010. But prior to that, I was very active in my children's school time and did a lot of volunteer work within our schools. So I had a great basis and a lot of friendships to bring into this role that I'm currently in. My family has been here, as I said, 4 generations in the citrus industry. So I have a lot of experience in family business, which I consider St. Lucie Public Schools to be a much larger family, of course.
Right.
But so I have a lot of deep roots, literally and figuratively, here in St. Lucie, and it's home.
Wonderful. Let's start by talking about outside of the school board, your job as a school board member. What other organizations or community agencies are you involved with?
Okay. Well, I pride myself on giving back to our community. So I do find myself on probably more boards than I need to learn to say no sometimes, but it's all things that I enjoy participating in and I'm passionate about. I guess the top one would be my work with Big Brothers Big Sisters,
Right.
and I've worked with them pretty close to 15 years now, working with their families and providing social emotional support and that sort of thing. I really favor them because of their one-to-one mentoring, and so many of our students benefit from that one-on-one relationship that's built with the mentors. And of course, they're a long-standing nonprofit in our community and just have a great reputation. But what they bring to our students is important to me, so I support that with them and take part in all of their fundraising activities and that sort of thing, because it's money that stays in our community,
There you go.
benefits our community, our families, and that sort of thing. So I also serve on the board of directors for New Horizons. Mental health issues are very passionate to me, something that I've always been involved in from the time that I was young. I knew that I wanted to help people. When I was 3, I didn't really know what that meant, but as I aged, I was able to put down into words the way I want to be able to help people is when they're struggling with mental issues or social issues, to be an advocate for them and to try to help through. So that's what my degree is in. So I do, New Horizons was a good fit for me there as well. I was real active in building their children's wing because more and more there are children, younger and younger, that need the benefit of mental health services. So that's one that's particularly close to my heart as well. And since my family, the background is in agriculture, I serve on the advisory council for the St. Lucie County Extension Board, which is a lot of agriculture and economic related issues. So that one, of course, is dear to my heart as well. I serve also on the St. Lucie County Juvenile Justice Board, Advisory Board. So we meet monthly and talk about issues that impact the juvenile justice system and the children that are involved in that in our particular county here, which again has an overlay with our school district because children that are involved with the juvenile justice system are probably students of ours.
Right.
So it's a good way to have input and to hear what's going on out and around in those things. So, and then a myriad of committees related to school district. 2 that I'm really particularly proud of are the District Advisory Council, which I have been a member of for over 20 years. And chaired it for several years until I was elected as a school board member, but that's still my committee, one of my appointments as a member. And we have a good group, does a lot of good work, a lot of good feedback to the district, as well as district being able to provide feedback and trainings for those folks. So I enjoy that. And you know, we're one county here, but we have to function as 67 counties when it comes to school district related business. And as a county, we are members of 2 organizations, the Florida School Board Association, which I serve as one of the legislative liaisons for that, trying to stay abreast of all the legislative and advocate on those things. And then the Greater Florida Consortium of School Boards as well, which I was chair of 2 years ago, and we were able to make some really good inroads during that time. So I never thought of myself as a political or legislative person, but I found that I enjoy that challenge and trying to make a difference legislatively for all of our county residents.
Wow, so you really have a very diverse group of people that you work with across the district.
I do indeed, yes. But I love it.
That's wonderful.
I do, yeah.
You mentioned before this need from an early age to help people. Is that what drives your passion to serve the boys and girls as a school board member?
I think that's a lot of it.
Okay.
The other part would be that I was extremely fortunate to have parents and grandparents that knew the value of an education, made great sacrifices for me to have that great education, were very supportive of all the activities I participated in. You know, they were always there. My grandmother was probably the one that was most influential in my love of reading.
Okay.
We would go every Saturday morning to the library when there was such a thing, you know, when it was the only way to get books and such. We'd go and spend our Saturday mornings at the library and check out books for the week, and then go home and we'd read some, and then during the week I would just really divested myself into reading books. So that, I think, really contributed to my love of ensuring that kids have access to those types of things and realize the value of an education in their life. It may not look like what it looked like for me years ago, but education's always going to be vital for our students. So that's the 2 things that drive my passion.
Great, wonderful. Let's shift gears a little bit. What are some school district accomplishments that you're particularly proud of?
Well, as I mentioned, I've been involved in the school district for pretty close to 30 years now. So I've seen a lot of ebb and flow, but I have to say the last 5 years have just really, really been moments of pure pride for me to see what we've evolved into. And I think the word that sums it up best would be culture. The culture that we have in St. Lucie Public Schools this day is better than it's ever been. The reputation that we have in the community, in the state, is stellar. So I'm very, very proud of the culture that's been built here in the last several years. Of course, our graduation rates are phenomenal and always would be a point of pride. The other area that I'm really interested in, invested in, is our early childhood education. We have a fantastic department there, a lot of energy. I love being part of the things that they're doing, because I do believe that the sooner we're able to impact a child's life, the longer that impact will last. So VPK and early education will always be right at the top of my list of things to advocate for, and I don't think we can ever have enough of it in our schools.
Right.
So we're multiple years of being one of the best places to work in St. Lucie County, which is something that has never happened for us before. So that speaks again, I think, to the culture and to all the activities. Our career and tech department is just, there's just no boundaries there. Every time I go to a school and see the things that are happening as a result of that, it just reminds me how far we've come.
Yes.
And that we're on the cutting edge on a lot of these things, and that's really rewarding to see and to be part of.
Absolutely. And I know you mentioned culture a couple times, and you know, all those accomplishments you talked about, really it does take collaboration, and if we didn't have the culture that we have, you know, people would be working in silos.
Exactly.
And it really requires people to have that attitude of whatever it takes to get the job done. And I think people have that.
I totally agree, and I think the last couple of years when we were displaced because of the flooding in the old building, and people were at different places all over after having been used to being together for so long, that silo feel was there to some extent, but never to the extent that they felt excluded. but watching everybody come back together since we've reopened in this brand new building, and seeing people reconnect and, you know, meet on the stairwells and have conversations
Right.
and things that we just couldn't do when we were so spread out all over this big, huge county. But that, it does, it speaks to the culture, exactly. We see it manifest in more ways than one.
Absolutely. If you're happy coming to work,
That's
you're going to be
right.
productive,
That's right.
and
It's not work when you're happy to come, is it?
exactly. And it's going to eventually, you know, it's going to benefit the students.
Absolutely.
You know, making
Absolutely.
sure we're meeting the needs of the teachers and so on and so forth.
It really
So-
does.
What do you see on the horizon as a challenge for public education?
Probably more than I wish there were. I think funding is
Right.
always going to be a challenge. There's dollars out there, but so many of them are specified for certain things. Not a lot of local control over
Right.
dollars that come in. So I think that will always be a challenge for school districts. And one of the ones that's really come to bother me in the last couple of years is social media. It impacts our employees, our children, their families, and there's the instantaneousness of it. Once it's out there, and it's so hard to pull back. People really don't have to think as much before they send something out into the, and I think that's having a huge impact on our students. I really do. They're so attached to that device and communicating with that device that it's hard to do the face-to-face for them. Learning becomes more difficult
Right.
because they're used to getting everything on that device. So it's tougher and tougher, I think, for our teachers to build that relationship with students because there's so many extraneous things that instantly they have access to. A lot of bullying happens through
Right.
social media. We've had our website hacked, and you know, the implications of that and the trying to pull it back is really time-consuming and energy that would be much better spent on building face-to-face and classroom and school site relationships. And so I think we've regressed in that department. It's sometimes it's really nice to be able to be in touch instantly, but I think the exposure, our safety measures, and I'm not saying as a school district, but as life in general, have
Right.
not been able to keep up with all the folks out there that really know how to manipulate and get around things and make it harmful for our kids. And that really hurts my heart.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting perspective. I hadn't really thought about that as a challenge,
Yeah.
but it does kind of filter through all aspects
Yeah, it
of,
really does.
of what we do in education. And, you know, I see the tie-in with the need for mental health, social, emotional learning support, just because we know that many students and adults alike spend a lot of time on social media,
do.
and I don't necessarily have the face-to-face interactions like we've had in years past.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
they don't really know how to have a conversation. It's interesting to me to go to a restaurant and just watch people that are sitting at the same table and they're both head bent down on their device instead of talking to each other, you know, and it saddens my heart.
How do you think we can make an impact and change that? Is it just being very cognizant of that, and you know, parents talking to their kids, or as families making it a priority to
I really
connect with
believe
one
that,
another?
that it has to begin in the families. Even if it's an hour a day where the devices are just turned
Right.
off or set aside and they, you know, do something together, a board game, or just talk
There you
about
go.
their day or plan their week, or, you know, something that requires interaction, some critical thinking as to, you know, what we're going to do, mistakes we've made, joys we've had. Just an hour a day, I think, would make a huge difference. I really do. I don't believe we should sleep with our phone right next to us, you know.
Right.
But that seems to have become the society that we are. And, you know, I think about my own kids who are all in their 30s now, but they've never known a moment that they couldn't instantly get to something, whether it be Amazon or whatever, they can instantly get there. Whereas when I was growing up, and I know it sounds antiquated, but there was a lot of joy in going to the mailbox and getting a handwritten letter or card, and to read that. And I still have those from grandparents and friends and all, that, I know it's antiquated, but there's just something about holding it. So, and I think school systems will become more and more aware too, and some of the current research is showing that the screen time really is detrimental on multiple levels. So I think as a school district, we've got to be very cognizant of that and stay on the cutting edge of other ways that we can reach and teach our kids as they, as the years go by.
Right.
So, I think another challenge will continue to be ensuring the safety of our employees and our students on school sites and buildings around. And certainly not just school districts that are having to deal with this, but I think that will become more and more pronounced. The fear, how can we stay ahead of this trend that seems so violent at times?
Right.
Because our greatest concern is keeping all of our folks safe, whether they're students or employees or members of our family, to keep them safe. So back to one of the things that I would be most proud of is the relationship that we have built with the Sheriff's Department here in the county, because immediately they responded and they had people in place to help us ensure that our school family is safe. So I think that has really been an excellent addition, and not that I in any way doubt what they're doing,
right?
But I know that it's going to require constant vigilance to stay on that. We just can never let our guard down for a moment, and I'm proud of the fact that we were ahead of that curve and instantly.
Right.
And a lot of the things that the legislative body has proclaimed necessary, we were already doing, and I think that's again part of our culture to keep folks safe.
Right, and we do have a uniformed law enforcement officer on every single campus.
Right.
And like you said, we know their primary job is to be vigilant and to keep our students safe, but they've had such an impact beyond that, just building relationships with kids and just being there for the public to feel more assured that our schools are safe. But they really have become part of the schools that they serve.
Yeah, part of the school culture there, exactly. They used to be seen, I think, in ages past as they would only be responding when there was an emergency.
Right.
But now they're that extra friend on campus, and they're able to show kids we're here to help. You know, we're not just about responding to bad things. We're here to prevent and to be part of your life and to share in your joys and all. So it's really neat to watch the interactions on school campuses between them. Yeah. Sometimes that school resource officer knows a lot more about the child than anyone else because they come and share their joys and their heartaches. It's been a fabulous addition, maybe for a tragedy resulting in it, but it's really been it's been a joy for our school sites. I know.
Yep. So, what are your goals for this calendar year?
I think my goal is probably the same all the time, and that's to always remember that every decision I make, I have to ask myself the question, what's best for the students? Because if it's best for the students, then it's going to be best for our community. Parents, staff, everyone, it will benefit. So that's the question I always ask myself before any vote or before any decision is this going to have the best impact on students, or is there another course that we should look into? So that's my overall goal, to never lose sight of that's why I'm here, and to continue to build relationships within, to nurture the ones that I have, to continue to build new ones. Our county is growing so fast. So many new industries coming in that we want to be part of. The port in Fort Pierce, the airport, a lot of manufacturing and construction, and we're building solid relationships with those folks coming in so that we're contributing to the economic prosperity of this county as well, and helping ensure that students that graduate and go into those careers, hopefully they will come back here, stay here, be part of internships here, and then perhaps be hired by a lot of these companies, which we know that's happening with our boot camps and that sort of thing. So that's exciting to watch and to see, to know that we are meeting the needs of the folks that are the employers here in our county, and to continue to be able to do that. Plus, we're equipping students that want to go away to college. And so keeping that balance, you know, in some years it may be a little heavier to one than the other. Things seem to go in cycles.
Right.
But my goal just sounds large, I guess, but is just to be part of that, and to ensure that we maintain our reputation as it has become, and that it continues to shine and to be talked about in a good and positive way. I was at an event out of town a month or so ago, and a former school board member from another county came up and asked me how things were going in my school district, and I said, you know, they're really going fantastic. And I had this big smile, and he said, you know, you couldn't make that up. You wouldn't, you know, I see the genuineness there. And he said, I wish I could say the same about my county. I said, well, I really wish you could too, because it needs to be good and productive, because ultimately what we're here for is the students, and to make things good and right for them, and to ensure that they have every success possible. As the kids at Hope District, we say that. Every child is capable of success, no exceptions. So I think just staying focused on building those relationships and nurturing them, being partners with so many folks in our community. I would like to see more parental involvement, as you know, but I think that's always been a mantra. Ways that we can reach our families and help them help their kids. So we've come a long way. There will always be a lot of work to do, though. I firmly believe in the institution of public education and want it to survive and to persist and to continue to get better and better. Another one of the challenges, to go back a few questions, is the charter school issue. It does, I believe in parental choice, absolutely. But I also believe in accountability, and I think that's another one of the tough issues that we will have to continually face, because things that may be required of one school system may not of another. And that's a battle for another day and ongoing and that sort of thing. But I believe if we're doing what we need to be doing on a personal level within our community, that parents will see and community members will see and recognize that, hey, they're doing a great job there. And so many things we could talk about. We could be here all day, because there are so many positive and good things going on.
Yes, a lot to be proud of.
It really, yeah. It's makes me, it fills my heart with pride to be part of it and to be part of this school family. And so, yep.
Wonderful. Is there anything else you want to share with the viewers?
Oh, I want to thank them for their participation, for believing in us through the hard times, and being constantly there for us. A huge issue that the community and our viewers enacted last year was passing the referendum, which made it possible for us to offer more money for our teachers who are grossly underpaid nationwide. I'm just so grateful that they enacted that, so that we have the funds to be competitive with the counties around us, something that we've not really been able to do before either. So we want to recruit and retain the best there is for our community, and those referendum dollars certainly help with that, along with social, emotional, mental health needs, which, as I mentioned, is really important to me. And I see a difference. Our social, emotional learning department is doing a phenomenal job of reaching out and being part of not only the culture of a school site, but the community as well. So I think also able to promote the arts, which is, without the arts, we don't need to have schools, because that's where it all begins. All the different types of the arts, you know, it makes a child whole.
Right.
And it's not all academic, but you can certainly integrate all of that into academics. So it will be a challenge to maintain that, but a good challenge.
Right.
And I'm always up for a good challenge.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and
Certainly.
sharing some insight into the work that you do and some of the district accomplishments. I really appreciate your time.
It's my joy to be here. Thank you. You made it easy.
Thanks. That's all for this episode of Eye on St. Lucie. We look forward to you joining us next time.